So Ophidian Accessories sent me a playmat a couple months ago, and now I can thoroughly review it and put it to the test. Hello duelists, it's Tombox here. Welcome to another episode of MST.TV where I'll be doing a very thorough mat review from Ophidian Accessories. They sent in their Naughty and Nice Krampus mat and Santa mat. And aside from just doing the basic tests of what it looks like, the price and the fraying issues, I will take it to the next level and put it through some of the things that you guys all have been wondering but are too afraid to test on your own mat. So we're going to be doing a scratch test on the ink itself to see if it comes off, how sustainable is that ink. There is also the weight test, so how much stress can these mats sustain before they rip. And we're gonna do a wash test and a grease and soda test on this because spillage can happen. I wanna put these mats through the test just to make sure that out of all the realistic situations, how much value is this? And I'm also going to do a wash test on this. I'm going to put this in the machine wash. Although, Pellen did tell me she did recommend to me that it is best to only use hand washed for this, but I'm going to put it on gentle wash to see if we can actually throw this in the washing machine to wash off all the stains that we're going to be putting through the grease test. Alright, so here we go. Let's start off with the look and feel of this mat. As we can see, the line work here is very, very solid. The thin lines and the details are absolutely amazing. The smallest pieces are very, very good. Here's a close-up of it, and I'm gonna pan through this right here. Looking through it, it looks very solid. The middle colors are very good. All the details, especially near the center, if you look at the little emblem in the center, it's very, very good. And on the St. Nick's side, the thin lines that make up the details on the cloth the line work is absolutely phenomenal. Like, Pellen is a very amazing artist, to be honest. And alright, and the edging, we have like a ribbon edge for the framing, and we have the Ophidian logo. Overall, the artwork and the line work is very good. Of course, if you're not a fan of the Krampus and Santa stuff, well, fear not, they do other mats too. The Dark Magician versus Blue Eyes White Dragon mat, that mat is mind-blowing. That mat is crazy good. I wish I had a copy of that, but that one's gone. Like, it's out of here. But anyways, that is the overall look of it. Now the feel of this stuff is very soft. Like, holy crap, this is, I would say, equivalent to the V4 Spellground, if not better. I don't really like it. Like, the softness of it is very good. It has a little bit of bounce to it, which is very nice. And usually people tend to fold up their mats when they play because you have your playmat, your opponent has their playmat. You rarely share unless, of course, no one has their playmat. Looking into the fraying and the edges is one of the main things that a lot of people talk about when it comes to playmats of the cloth type. What's so special about this? Because the more frays, the more damage is sustained. So the damage is not really on the surface of the mat, more so on the edge, because it is backed by a knit backing that is cross-hatch all over the back. So one thing I do like about this, let's get a close-up shot on this, is that the backing is very tight. Compared to the recent Spellgrounds, after comparing the two mats, Ophidian Accessories definitely has a much tighter back knit. The stitches are much closer to each other compared to the Spellground V4, which you can kind of see much clearer holes. Okay, so, but I can't guarantee that every mat will be the same. Perhaps it actually has something to do with the mat color. I can't confirm this, but this is what it looks like at this very moment. And one thing that I would like to point out is that there is a bit of fraying issue from this mat when it comes to, well, in this mat in particular, there is fraying, mainly because of the cutting. If you actually look at the cutting, I'm gonna do a little thing here where you can see the cut is slanted on the mat, the rounded cut on the edge. You can see that the lines, each fray is actually a new thread. And if you follow one of these threads, you realize that the thread that's fraying is the one below it. So it's a slanted cut which is causing this. And for a DIY solution, you could get some clear nail polish to kind of seal it in, to kind of put some adhesive on it to tuck it in. I'm not sure if it's going to crisp up a little, but it's better than watching it fray because you don't want to pull on these threads because the more you pull on, the more threads you lose. Of course, the more it's going to cut into the velvet, and then it's actually going to start fraying the top part of the mat, and that's not good. But the fraying issue, After about 1 month's worth of play, it became much more apparent. The first month, it was pretty good, but after a bit of wear and tear, there are more and more threads starting to come off on the front side. So most of the frame was from the edge side, but now the player side is also going to receive some of it. But it makes sense because like most players, they tend to rub the side of the mats against someone else's mat, especially at events, right? Okay, so pricing wise, these mats are, well, this one in particular is about $44.95 or $44.99, so it's about 45 bucks. And so the limited edition stuff will be about 100 bucks. So limited, of course, if you want the highest rarity, if you're a rarity kind of guy, this stuff you can obviously pay more for. But anyways, let's move on to some of the tests, starting with the scratch test. Okay, so let's do a scratch test. Now, for a scratch test, normally people when they play cards, they play with a sleeve on, and I intend to do so myself for a bit for the first test, and then I'll try to purposely damage it to see what happens. So for scratch test people, normally they slide their cards. I'm gonna try to scratch off his face. So people slide their cards in and then they drop it off. Like flipping it face down, facing this up. I don't think any of that regular use will actually damage the ink on this. This one is actually really well done. Like, and there are some lines that are so thin and like holes that are so thin and it's still adding texture to this creature here, Krampus. And I'm gonna try to scratch off his face now. I'm gonna try to use the sleeve to do it. I think you guys can still see his face. Okay, so I didn't really do too much. I can like obviously invert the direction of the fabric, but let's try something else. Now at the case of trying to purposely damage, I'm gonna use my fingers and fingernail to like treat this as a scratch movement. Can I get rid of his face? And the answer is barely. See, the ink settles in onto the fabric and its direction. Now I've actually just loosened the fabric, and this is me trying to glide it really hard. Like, see that? And the face is still really clear. I can still clearly see his face. I would not recommend doing it, of course, because this is intentionally seeing how far the ink will last if you, depending on how much force you're putting onto your scratches. And if you're actually putting in that much force, you're trying to break it at this point. And to be honest, I would give this ink settlement like basically a 10 out of 10 because this is actually really good. And however, there's more tests to be done with this stuff. Okay, so this is a 10-pound dumbbell and this is a 40-pound dumbbell. So this is 4 times the weight of this one. Basic math, put this in your luggage, you're gonna be overweight for your flight. Anyways, we're gonna do this test. This test is to simulate a bit of stress testing on the backing and the support of this fabric. And if it all works out, well, let's hope I don't rip the mat along the way because I kind of still want to use this. But anyways, if it does rip, then that means they could probably use a better material for the backing because this is to simulate pulling on when tugging on it if it got caught on something. If I actually pull on, this is really, really heavy. All right, so starting off with the 10-pound dumbbell test. So let's get this one out of the way. All right, so I'm gonna put it this way, and I'm gonna close it up. I'm gonna do a little lift. So the dumbbell is still inside. I'm not doing any kind of magic trick. I'll probably rotate it so you guys can see it. So we're gonna do a little lift here. Still in there. It's holding just fine. Okay, so 10 pounds, no problem. I could probably just hold on to it forever and it will actually be fine. So that was a 10-pound test. 10 pounds, it definitely passed the 10-pound test. Let's put this aside. I don't lift this. I don't know why we have this. Okay, so for the 40-pound test, this one's a bit more tricky. It did feel like there was a bit of stress coming from the bottom on the 10-pound one. I am a little worried about ripping it now with this 40-pounder. Maybe I should try it with something in between. But since I don't have anything in between, let's try it out anyway. So this is the 40-pound test. I wish I had a camera operator or else I would show you how it would look like if I was just standing. But here we go. So I fold it up. All right. And we're gonna do a lift. This looks very thin, by the way, in comparison. I didn't double it up because normally you wouldn't be pulling at it when it's all like kind of tucked in together. But here we go. Is it gonna rip? I sure hope not. Let's do this. Okay, I'm definitely not gonna juggle this, but it is holding. So 40 pounds actually passed the 40-pound test as well. So the backing is very solid. Now let's see if there's actually any damage on this mat from lifting this much crap on it. Ah, that was so heavy. So backing wise, to me it looks fine. There's no stresses or tears. There's no tears or anything in the back. Let's get another shot up close. Yeah, the tears are ripped on the back. And on the front side, there's nothing. There's not even a mark that there was something like really stressing it out. So in terms of stress test, you guys don't have to worry about it getting ripped by just tugging on it, because this thing can actually support quite a bit of force. Okay, so now it's time for the grease test. So the grease and dirt test, we're gonna dirty up this mat. We have a can of Coke that will spill on this. I have a McDonald's McDouble that I made into a mini Mac. Add Big Mac sauce and lettuce. It's pretty good. And then I have here some of the cleaning supply. Now Pelham told me that you should not actually machine wash this, but if I were to do so, she told me to put it on gentle, so that's exactly what I'm gonna do. But also hand wash it. So I've got the dry towel to absorb some of this Coke, and I've got this water to kind of like dilute it. But let's start off with a little meal here. Now this test is actually supposed to simulate somebody spilling their stuff on your mat while you're playing. You know, people go on break when they are playing a large tournament. And yeah, these things happen. Usually it's fries, but I'm gonna go with the stereotypical Coke and burger. I was like, oh my god, he got it all over my stuff. Okay. The real test. Oh my god, you can see it's already pretty stained. I kind of want to just eat this, but my hand's getting greasy. So there's the Coke stain. Let's actually make a more standardized grease stain on one side so you can see how well this kind of ends up. So I'm gonna, obviously you immediately react if someone spills stuff on you, get a paper towel or something to dry it up. Maybe get some water to dilute it. Now did it seep through? It did not seep through. That's actually pretty good. It's starting to seep through, but it didn't seep through completely. I might pour a bit more on, but if you have initial reaction to this, it should be okay, but it is pretty stained. This area is, it looks wet, but it's actually a bit brown. All right, time for the grease side. This is sad, because I want to eat this. Oh, the greasy cheese. Ugh, so filthy. And okay, mayo. So this is Big Mac sauce. Big Mac sauce. Okay, that's pretty dirty, okay? And let's put some more Coke on this. Man, this table's good. Do you want ants? Because this is how you get ants. Anyways. So, okay, let it seep a little. And let's dry it up. So the grease here is actually pretty deep. The cheese is pretty deep. So cheese and grease stains. So we're gonna take a close-up look on this mat. Did it seep through this time? It did seep through. As you can see, there's stains on the mat now, like right here. And just seep to the other side. No, this side is still safe. The backing is pretty, it's thick enough and absorbent enough to actually hold off most of this damage. But this is what it looks like right now. It's pretty brown, this is pretty greasy. This is people wiping grease on it. There's little stain marks on these. Okay. So first off, I'm gonna get another clean towel. So I'm gonna get another clean towel on this, and I'm gonna see if I can actually absorb some of this massive amount of Coke on this. Because I'm back with some fresh towels and paper towel. Because paper towel is something that you'll actually have access to, whereas these towels you might not. So this type of paper towel is to simulate the paper towel you get in the washroom. Well, this is much better quality. See if I can just absorb off some of the stuff and get rid of the color. It is removing the color. That's one thing that I'm a bit surprised of. It is removing the color. So maybe you can actually throw this in the washer later. Okay, so that side is fine. As for the grease, you can't just rub the grease, because if you just rub the grease, you're just gonna spread it and it's probably gonna look pretty bad. So I'm actually gonna make it a little more damp. So I'm gonna scrub it off. Maybe use OxiClean or some sort of cleaning product that isn't bleach. But you can kind of clean it off. It's not too bad. Hand washing is okay. It does smell like burger and Coke. It does smell like it just came out of McDonald's. But overall, it's not too bad. Of course, I have to wait till it dries, because obviously when it's wet, you do see a bit of discoloration because it's a little bit darker. This is the dry towel. Try to absorb some more of this. Okay, well, it's still a bit brown. It's a bit stained. But this is actually not too bad. Let's get a close-up look. Can you tell that this was, I poured like a ton of Coke on this? Of course, those dark areas is just fabric. Let me just smooth out the fabric first. Can you tell that this was spilt on? Well, clearly you can, because it's still wet. When it's dry, I'm just wondering if there's discoloration. So you cannot put this in the dryer. I was told by Pam that you shouldn't put this in the dryer, it should hang dry. So, but first, I'm gonna dampen this up again with some Coke, and I'm gonna put it in the washer, because if that's a better option, it would be good, because the backside stain is gonna stay. This side, I can't get rid of it. Yeah, I definitely cannot get rid of the backside stain. So there will be evidence that your mat is not in its most prestigious state. But let's do the washer test. But before I do that, let's spill more Coke on this. Yeah, that's right, get in there. Okay, so I'm in my laundry room here, and sorry for the lighting, but so this is the clean side, the Santa side, and this side is the Krampus dirty side that's still really damp from the Coke, and you can see the back is see-through, whereas the other side, not so much. They had some spillage when I was folded, but okay, let's put it in the wash. So I already loaded this machine with some of my clothes in here, mostly dark clothes and cuts, because I don't know if this ink is going to come off. And that's actually one of the main things I'm testing for this wash test, is the ink gonna loosen up if I put it in here. So gentle wash only, and we're just gonna time lapse to the future. Okay guys, so after about like an hour or so, or less, I think the wash is done. So let's take a look. Well, overall, this is the side that's clean, and this is the side that was dirty. The stains are gone, which is very nice. The fabric still feels very soft, so the feel-wise, washing it in the machine definitely did not do anything to the feel of the fabric, so that's a good plus. Yeah, but the fraying issue, however, got a little worse. A lot of the stray fabrics did start to pull out more so than before. So if you do wash it in the machine, you're gonna be risking the fraying getting a little worse. However, it is definitely better than having a stained mat. Like that part is for sure. So, but this is still wet. I'm gonna let this hang dry, and then I'm gonna go back into the set. All right, so this is the after wash part. So as you can see, I'm gonna zoom in here. There's still some grease stains. I kind of circled it with the direction of the fabric. There are some grease stains and discoloration from where I put the cheese and the Big Mac sauce where I just rubbed it in. Those parts, it's not super visible, but it is there if you try to look for it. I'm not even sure if the camera can even capture it, but that's what it looks like. And Washable, definitely. The Coke stain definitely came right off. As you can see, it's just nice and smooth now. There's no discoloration. I'm not sure if this is going to be the same case if you do have a lighter mat. A lighter mat might stain a little bit heavier, and I'm not recommending you guys to try it. I don't recommend damaging this stuff on purpose, but if it does accidentally get damaged, you can find ways to salvage the situation. Now overall, let's come down to the look and feel. Look and feel of these mats. The feel is absolutely great. The look, the mat design, Pelin can obviously come with other designs. Personally, I don't like this artwork as much as the other ones. But overall look and feel, I give it about an 8 or 9 out of 10. The fraying issue, this one's a bit worse than I thought, but overall, and then after wash, it actually got worse. But at the same time, it's not something that you would normally pick at a lot. There are DIY situations where you can technically kind of fix the problem yourself. But the fraying issue, I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. Probably because of the cutting, in particular for this mat anyway. Maybe they'll find solutions to actually solve it. And as for the pricing, actually $45 is actually not bad for a mat, especially for a mat that will last you a very, very long time. 50 bucks is definitely worth it. And I'd rather play on these mats. It's actually easier to flip your cards rather than on the mouse pad-ish rubber mats, because these ones you can actually flip them up. And if you are a Yu-Gi-Oh player, setting stuff face down and flipping them face up is a very common thing to do, and checking is constantly frequent. You don't want to accidentally slide your card across and maybe bend your card. These ones, because of the fabric, the sleeve will catch onto the fabric, making it very easy to flick them. See? Fast check, won't accidentally flip it over, so it's all good. So now as for the tests, scratch test, definitely passed the scratch test. I'm only gonna be passing a failing grade on this. Scratch test, it definitely passed it. I tried to rub my nail on it, I tried to scratch it off on purpose. It survived the scratching. Scratch test is good. Let's see, the strength test, it survived the 40-pound weight. That automatically to me is a pass, because you're never gonna put that much more force on it unless you're really trying to go at it, and then now you're actually just trying to break it. If you're trying to break something, you obviously can break it and get scissors if you really want to break it. But strength test, it definitely passes. And wash test, I'm giving this a pass as well, because you're never gonna rub it in half of these things that I did to this mat, like pouring Coke on it. Okay, the Coke part, the amount that I did pour on seems a little under-realistic, because if something does happen to your mat, it's a spill, it's a tip over, and usually that's a lot of stuff. And if it's half a can, it's a half a can going across the entire mat. So I was a bit more controlled on my test there, but it was still a decent amount of Coke. I did still end up pouring up half the can over time, but as you can see, the Coke test was good, definitely passed it, but the grease test, that was a bit more unfortunate. It did stain the mat, and it is still there, and it did change the texture of the fabric of where the grease did stain. So it does seep in pretty hard. So if someone drops a sandwich on it or drops a pizza on it, well, you better get some water and try to get most of it out as much as you can. So that's what I recommend. So grease test, not so good, but spillage test, all right, and washable. That's the best part. It is washable. So for the grease and spill test, I would still give that a good pass. So overall, Ophidian accessories. If you like the Ophidian accessories and you like this review, please give me a thumbs up on this one, because, well, I actually spent a lot of time filming over the day to actually get this one done for you guys. And stay tuned for my next review. It's gonna be Imperium Duelist Playmat. They sent a bunch of mats for me, and I plan on giving some of those away to you guys. And there's some really nice stuff. Oscar used it himself and he loved it. Anyways, that's it. That's all I got for this review video. If you guys like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you guys want to see more stuff from MST.TV. Hey guys, thanks for watching. And if you guys want to see more stuff from MST.TV, drop a like and hit the left button over here to subscribe. Or if you want to check out another video from us in the past, click here on the right. And as always, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV.